Hello. Right, this is the third time I'm starting this recording because twice before I was referring to the notes that I wrote and prepared and to make sure that I actually mentioned all the things I wanted to, and it just wasn't flowing. So I'm actually just going to do it my way and tell you the message that is coming through for me to share the most strongest. Okay. Tomorrow is our first new moon of the year, and it is in Aquarius, which is wonderful. A wonderful new moon sign and a wonderful way to start the year when it comes to intention setting. The full moon that we had was in Cancerian. It was very emotional. A lot came up, a lot of shedding to be done. Mars is in Cancer in retrograde. I've done a video of that. We're feeling sluggish, we're feeling emotional, we're feeling cranky. It has been a potential little bit of a beep show, right? But this year will be lighter. I really, really, truly mean that. I really mean that. Now, instead of me just sitting and rambling off what Aquarius means and the new moon and all the things together, I'm actually going to take you right back to 2016, because the main message that comes from here is a message that I am talking about all the time. And therefore, it really shows me that this is a golden thread. And when golden threads are moving through what is happening globally, then we really pay attention. And then it doesn't need to be completely analyzed. We need to just pay attention to what is the end goal. And the end goal that I'm really wanting to bring home to you is to chuck what no longer serves you. It is such a simple statement. You hear it all the time, but the depth and the impact and the importance of that sentence and the action of that sentence, is monumental and very far-reaching. If you go back to 2016, slowly but surely things started ticking differently, and then it became a bit faster, and we all started to feel a little bit edgy and uncomfortable, big questions coming up in our lives, big cycles closing, big things like affairs coming out after that affair going on for years, that kind of thing that you just think you're on top of, that thing that actually wasn't serving you, and you were hiding it, because what happens when we hide things? Unless there's a really beautiful intention, and by you telling somebody that will stop, normally we know we're doing something wrong, right? Or it's just not feeling right. Then, of course, we had COVID. We had all that confusion and fear with lockdown. Nobody quite knew what the hell to do. There was so much upheaval. As much as there was healing for families who were actually able to spend time together now, there was also a lot of trauma for families who were having to spend time together and suddenly realizing, I don't think I really like you guys. You understand what I'm saying? There were just so many dynamics, and actually all of them were huge and impactful. We all went. So even to be there for each other during that time was difficult and took on a whole new flavor, and that was really beautiful to see, right? Now everybody knows how to make pineapple beer, everybody knows how to make banana bread, everybody's danced in their kitchens like the ballerinas. It was also, there was magic in it too. But it was trying. Uranus moved into Taurus. That is the biggest deal of my lifetime, meaning for many of us it's the biggest deal of our lifetime, and I will continue to do videos of them. I don't even know if I have one on this particular channel. It is a very important message for humanity, and a very important time for us to, and here we go again, drop what no longer serves us. When I mentioned lockdown now for a specific reason, there were many people who almost by default within the first month lost their jobs. Suddenly the post became redundant, or there was so much money lost that people just had to be let go. They were really traumatic changes. But what actually came out of that for a lot of people was people started doing things that you'd normally never think were possible to make money from, but they became necessities. And some people thrived during that time because, hey, you know what? I was a secretary for 25, 30 years, but actually sewing these things I'm making now, or making these meals for people and dropping them on corners, that's actually where my passion lies. And so I'm now making money from it, and so I'm going to continue to do that. See, there's a whole new door opening now. There's a whole new opportunity that, had it not been for that extreme situation, that person may never have gotten to. So if you can look at it slightly differently, and if this triggers anybody, I do apologize. I know these are very sensitive topics, but they're very important. If we look at what Uranus brings to us, and the lockdown, for me, it doesn't matter what you believe, whether you think it's man-made or whether whatever conspiracy theory you might believe or whatever scientific, I'm not going there. I'm coming from the energy of Uranus, Aquarius, and the 11th house. They all go together, right? The change we experience is rapid. It's often shocking. It's so unexpected. It's like, what the hell just happened? But it's necessary. So it's not like Pluto, where Pluto's thing can hurt like hell. It's a deep thing. This is just fast change. But it's not it feels chaotic, but that is not the end goal of this energy. It brings this whoosh about because it knows that it's the best thing for you to let this thing go. It is not serving you anymore. And that is what this beautiful new moon asks. But I'm taking you back to 2016 because we have the responsibility to actually do this now. Not to, every time you hear somebody say that, you go, oh yeah, I must do that. Oh yeah, no, next week I'll stop doing this thing. Or I'll put cigarettes down at the end of the week or whatever. You must want to do it, but understand that wanting to do it is becoming important. That thing you really want to do, if you want to sell everything, buy an RV and go traveling, do it. That is your soul's calling. That is the yearning you are having. That is a calling. I know how that one works. If you have had a calling to become a death doula, which can be a very frightening experience, and it takes on a whole world of its own, and you as a person and your family, there's all sorts of other pressures, maybe is not the right word, but your whole family's life starts to look different when you go into that, but it's a calling. Right? So now it's not about intellectualizing and trying to do a pros and cons list. It's answering the call. Where is that call sitting? What do you want? What do you really want? Not, I'm too scared, so I'm not going to go there, or I really want this, but no. What do you really want? What has, since 2016, what has presented back into your life? At times even seemingly fallen into your lap, like you can't believe you've just made this connection, or you can't believe you've just gotten in a car with a friend you haven't seen in years, and she's taken you out to a herd of horses where she's riding, and this is one of your life's passions. You haven't been with horses in a decade. Boom, here you are, and it ignites all that again. Write those down, record them, just allow them to be there again without any triggers of anything more. There's no further thinking. Because that is what you are asked to do. With the amount of change that we are going through in our world, with the way politics is changing, with the way we are using our voices, with the way we are saying no more often, we are saying yes more often. Look, it's also spinning completely out of control, and there are certain things that we as humans really need to get on top of and check ourselves. So it's not all moonshine and roses, and it can't be. Revolution is never moonshine and roses, and Uranus in Taurus is revolution. The last time we experienced this, we were heading to the end of the Second World War. Currency, there was no money at the time. The currency became food. You were literally swapping out food to stay alive. Banks were redundant. You were just surviving. What beautiful thing came out of that? That beautiful treaty where we said we will never, ever, 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 ever treat people that way again. And thank God. Not that we don't treat people that way. But we need to get back to really understanding that we can't treat people that way. If we look at how many people you know, in your family, in your friend group, in your work environment, your neighbors, you yourself, in the last few years, everybody has had traumatic experiences, whether we lost somebody in a traumatic way, whether we lost our businesses, whether we lost our home. our partner, there was a divorce. These are just things, these are things that happen, they've happened for decades and decades and decades, I understand. But there's a feeling of acceleration, and there's a feeling of it's happened to a lot more people. You know, 15, 20 years ago, we would have a friend who's having a bad year or a bad few months. In the last 10 years, we've really all had that for months at a time, okay? That is not because, you know, God has forsaken us or we're being punished, or it is because we have just actually moved away from our own magic. Why am I here? Many reasons. Why am I not here? Also many reasons. Which one is winning at the moment? For a long time, the ones that were draining me and were winning, because I kept, for some reason, and due to my transits, trying to put myself into that world. I was still, there was, whether it's a fear, whether it's again just dealing with transits and a lot of things that are happening. For me, I knew what I wanted and I knew where I wanted to go, but you know, it's that moment where you crack the egg. Yeah, it could be messy, but once you've cracked it and opened, it's done and it's beautiful. Look, there's this wonderful thing that's just come out of you, completely new to what it just was. And that's liberating. That's where you want to be. Okay, I'm going to keep it nice and short, and I hope that really just brought the importance home of shed what isn't yours. And please go into Aquarius themes that are actually toxic for you, like social media overload, Netflix series binge overload. Because what we do when we're watching Netflix, okay, beside that other thing that we do, we eat. We're not serving ourselves. Obviously, a good movie is wonderful and a good series is wonderful, but check the amount of time that you're doing that. Are you out back in your community? Are you actually meeting up with your friends again? Because it took us all a while. Of course, there were, you know, the outgoing people who were immediately back out visiting, doing things, but it took a lot of us a very long time, even just to crawl out of that. Am I allowed to see people? Am I comfortable? Are we actually safe? And so we can't mess around anymore. We have to become very, very serious about ourselves. I say again, we cannot be of the service that God intended for us to be. We cannot be that vessel if we are filling ourselves with gunk, then we're just standing still. So tomorrow, say thanks. Say thanks for the expansion that's happening in your life. Make a commitment to you in your own life that by letting go of the things and making space for new things, you're going to focus on re-educating yourself to really fill that space that you've now opened for the things that you want. So that 2 or 3 days or a week or 4, you aren't just going and picking up that bucket that you threw away because that was what you don't need anymore or what isn't serving you. It's a delicate balance. It's like if you can treat yourself like the newborn baby. Everything is delicate. Everything is perfect. You just stare at this perfect little thing. There's so much hope. There's so much love. There's grace. There's joy. There's confusion and fear as well. But wow, this newness is just so exciting and enthralling. All right, because it's here. The new things are here. There's no stopping it. Okay, have a good one.